What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Popcorn Chicken. It is a special Popcorn Chicken, a special edition of Popcorn Chicken. We're kicking it off. We're going to be examining, breaking down, and dissecting the show The Last of Us. It premiered on HBO today. Episode 1 dropped, and we're going to break it all down. So, joining me today is Nathan. Nathan, what's up?
Hello there.
I love the jacket. It looks
Oh, thank
nice.
you very much. Thank you.
The
Thank you.
turtleneck. Why are you so classy and I'm like a bum with this shirt on?
I was a little cold, so I was cooking an Italian dish earlier today for
Ooh,
dinner.
do tell.
Unfortunately, it was very buttery. The
I
crust
too had
for
an
it.
Italian dish, so I will talk to you
Ooh.
about it after. Yeah.
But it was so buttery that the butter melted,
Mm,
and the
mm.
pan wasn't one that would contain it, so it melted onto the bottom of the oven and started to burn. And
Oh.
so the house was filled with smoke. So
Uh,
it tasted really good. It was really good. It tasted great. It wasn't burnt or anything, but because of all the smoke, it had to open up all the windows and doors, so I'm freezing. That's why I'm wearing the
were your
turtleneck and
parents
the jacket.
happy? Were your parents happy?
They're happy with the result, and my mom's like, "Oh, this pan will work. Don't worry about it." And that pan didn't work, so she didn't blame me. So I was fortunate.
Hello, Derpy
Hello there.
501s. Hello.
The 501st.
Oh, sorry, 501st.
501st. Yeah, Star
How
Wars.
dare I say it wrong? How dare I say it wrong? I'm a little kind of in the mode because I'm so excited to talk about this. I'm only focusing on this show right now. Everything else doesn't matter right now, right? The Last of Us, man. This premiered today on HBO. It's one of the most anticipated shows that people have been waiting for, and it finally dropped. And everyone's just like, please, please be a very, very good adaptation of a video game. Finally, can we have something nice, right? Because we're always disappointed when a game goes into a movie or it gets made into a TV show. They generally don't do a great job. Hey, Sean, how you
Yeah.
doing? Thank you for joining us. How dare the Get Order 66. Yes, I apologize. Sorry. Yeah, so I had good expectations for this because, well, the casting was good. We had
Oh yeah.
Pedro, and then you look at Gabriel Luna, who a lot of people kind of sleep on this guy. He's an up and coming actor, a star, and I think him there and then Pedro there. It is really cool to see some strong casting before the show because that generally bodes well when you have high level actors trying to be casted and for the role. It means the studio is not cheaping out on the value, right? So, and then you have Bella Ramsey, who we all know from Game of Thrones. She was one of the members, a house. I can't remember exactly which house she represented, but yeah, I mean, and then obviously there's a bunch of other. You mentioned Nick Offerman as
Oh
one of the
yeah, Nick
members.
Offerman. Um, uh, one thing you did mention when they get like a nice, high level cast, it's usually a good sign. Well, I can think of one case where that makes me nervous, and that's the Mario movie.
Mm.
I I love Chris Pratt, but
Well, I mean, let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see.
True.
I'm gonna
For
reserve.
this, yeah, for this show, you were for everyone else that hasn't seen some of our other stuff in the past. Alvin's been so excited for this.
I have.
He's like, The Last of Us is coming up. He'll talk about it every show, but like before and after we start. So the parts that you guys don't see, he'll mention it. And and we finally got it today. So and he's been messaging me throughout the day to make sure I'll be able to like watch it and get on here. So good signs already, without giving any reviews or spoilers just yet. But good signs.
So, you know what surprised me? I thought it was going to be an hour long only, but it ended up being an hour and a half or so.
Yeah.
And I was delighted. I'm like, great, because I don't know. Maybe I'm spoiled by Netflix or Disney dropping a couple episodes all the time. But generally, like when I see a premiere, I want to have a good grasp of the show right off the bat. And I think studios understand that now. So they're gonna, give you more right off the bat to get you hooked, right? And this show, it's very important to get you hooked because if you don't play the game, you have no clue what this show is about, right? And my wife, she sat next to me. I told my wife, I'm like, you gotta watch this show. You gotta watch it. My wife's like, is it gonna be a Marvel show? Is this superhero? Because I'm out if that is the case, because she's not into that, right? And I said, just trust me, you're gonna love this. You're gonna love this show, right? And she sat down with me and she was sort of like watching and watching. I'm kind of like looking at him like, does she like it? What's the thought? Because I want to see what the general audience.
Yeah.
And that's the general audience next to me, right? She has no idea what The Last of Us until I told her 2 hours ago, right? So my always reactions are to look at somebody who hasn't or has no idea what the IP is about and see if they're enjoying it, because that's kind of gives me an indicator of if this is a good show or not. Me being pumped and being biased because I know what it is. I'm, like I said, I'm biased, and so it doesn't. I don't know if I can be honest 100% with having a little bit of a geek and fandom in it, right? So the fact that we watched it, and she then, when it ended, she goes to me, "Hey, this is a pretty good show," and I'm just like walking by. I'm like, yes,
yeah. See, I told you.
I was let's get into the show. So I'll be honest with you guys. I know about it. I've seen enough. Oh, well, we got people going in the chat here talking a lot here. Okay. So does anyone watch the Halo series? Wrong one here. Let's not. Oh, it says because an hour and a half already, this is the best adaptation. So, and he says, Darpa says, I played the first game many times. Okay, so I'm going to blow your mind here. I played a little bit of the game when it first came out, and I stopped because I was busy and life got, the best of me. And forward 8 years later, I never played the game more than 45 minutes into it. So I went and downloaded the latest version, the PS5 version, not the remastered one, but the PS5 version yesterday morning, which is beautifully done. Like it is gorgeous. I don't know if you've seen the differences. Have you seen it on YouTube, Nathan?
Between like the PS4 version
they
of the
show
PS5.
They show the PS4 remastered version on one half of the screen, and then they show this recent one that they did on the PS5, and it is light years ahead in the way it looks. It genuinely looks like a PS5 game. It doesn't.
I haven't seen.
It's beautiful. I'm telling you, it looks fantastic. So I went and got the game yesterday. I played about, I'll say, an hour and a half, 2 hours. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to play the game and try to keep it within the same hourly time frame as the show and go along with the show.
Yeah,
it is the coolest experience in the world because some people have already played the game or never played the game and don't want to play the game. So I'm in between here where I'm playing alongside, and I don't want to go too far into the game without keeping it. It's just the excitement is so much better because, and then you can also tell the differences that and the way they change directions much faster because you're right now playing it right for the first time.
Gosh, that would be fun to do.
Yeah, it's fantastic, man. Even if you play the game, go ahead and play it again, but try to keep it within the episodic time frame if you can. So I think where I ended off in the video game is very close to where the show ended off today. So it was amazing to watch. So let's talk about the first maybe 15 minutes of the game. The show
of the game. Yeah.
See, I'm already thinking of the game.
Well, do you know what? You got to admit, there's a massive chunk at the start that is like nearly identical. There's some differences,
but there's also a chunk in the start that's not there in the game, but it feels great to have that part.
Yeah.
Right? That's when you have something nice.
And starting from the very start with that interview scene, which I thought was really good to have that in there because it kind of explains to people like the dangers of kind of like this fungi. I don't want to say, I was going to call it a fungi virus. It tells you the dangers of mushrooms, not I don't want to eat mushrooms psychedelic version, now. But and it's nice. It teases it a little bit. It makes it still feel ominous in a way. Like it's a harmless interview, but like what this is leading up to, and it has that kind of feeling like, oh, this is something big. Also, it's a little scary, like right after COVID, and they're talking about having a
Oh
global
man,
pandemic. I'm like, oh,
what a good time to drop this, huh?
Yeah. Do you know they probably finished it like a year or two ago, and they're like, oh, too early. Let's wait a bit.
Let's wait till people are settled back in life, and then we drop this back into their world.
But in a fun way.
I guarantee you right now, I guarantee you there are people online saying this is real. The government's hiding this. I guarantee you there's people online already.
Well,
The government's lying to us.
Do you know what's scary is that fungus is real. It is a real thing. But I think it's in the Amazon, and it's never been used on people. It's used on ants. Little, well, I say little. I think they're kind of large.
Well, in the beginning, he mentions that, right?
The
specialist.
Yeah. Sorry, I even forgot about that. He does talk about that, and that's not fake though. That's real.
Yeah.
It is kind of like scary. I've seen like the theories out there, like there's gonna be, one day happen to people, and it's unlikely because we're different. But it's one of those things that it's not too far-fetched compared to a lot of other zombie TV shows like The Walking Dead.
It's a whole lot different than The Walking Dead because this is sort of a biological thing that could, in theory, mutate and be able to host inside a human rather than just plants or you said fungi, right?
Yeah.
It's more believable than an outbreak and they all are zombies and they don't ever poop. They just eat people and they walk very slowly. By the way, these infected people, they don't walk slowly.
Yeah.
They don't walk slowly.
And that's jump over counters and fall and
break limbs and stuff and just kind of contort back. Oh man.
And considering that was an actor doing that. Hello there.
Yeah, so I mean, the first 15 or so minutes we have Riley, which is Joel's daughter.
Yep.
And so she's basically going about her day. She, her dad's like, hey, you got to go to school, all that, teenager stuff. And then she steals money from her dad's drawer, grabs a watch, which people know the watch is kind of iconic, or will be iconic because those are kind of things that kind of when they focus on an object, it's going to have a symbolism or it's going to have some sort of importance down the road, right? Otherwise, why would they even focus on an object, right? Yeah. So immediately when I saw the watch, I'm like, okay, yeah, I know. I know where this is going. So she, leaves school and she does a little thing. I remember. Do you remember the scene where she goes in the kitchen and she leaves the grandma and she goes in the kitchen to talk to the, I guess the neighbor, and she's making cookies. But you can see in the background grandma's mouth kind of like moving around, and I was like, oh, here we go.
Oh my gosh, I didn't look at the mouth moving around.
Yeah. Okay. So when she's there and then her neighbor's making cookies, she first goes says hi to the grandma, and then she's walking away towards the kitchen. You can see in the background, it's a little fuzzy, but you can see her contorting her mouth a little bit. And then that's when the infection started kicking in for the grandma. By the way, I should say we're spoiling it here. I apologize for not letting everybody know, but come on, it said episode 1 breakdown in the thumbnail.
Yeah,
what do you think we were going to do?
This is popcorn chicken. We go over the spoilers.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen the TV show, I urge you to stop right now, go watch it, and then you can watch it on the replay or jump in while we're live. We're going to be on for about an hour. So yeah, just want a little warning, but the thumbnail kind of speaks for itself there. Full breakdown here. And I do want to, if you have a theory, if you have comments about the show, please let us know in the chat. I'd love to hear your comments, read your comments. And so Nathan will probably talk about some of these important notes.
If your theory is just spoilers from the game,
do not do that. Do not do that. Do not.
That's not spoilers from the game are not theories. That is just you basically reading the plot later on and telling us what it will probably be.
Yeah, I mean, what I mean by theories is there are some changes, there are some additions of characters that they're adding to the show. What do you think, in theory, could be different right? So if you know how the game kind of went in what direction, maybe give us an alt theory of what you think could happen without trying to ruin the future of the show for others. I don't watch TV that much, Viper says. I just work, play video games, and spend time with the family. Okay, well, I think you should watch it because I think it's really cool. Even if we're spoiling it for you here, it's only episode 1. You could catch up next week and watch it live before we jump on. We're going to be, by the way, doing it every Sunday at 9:05 p.m. Pacific time. I think the time is good. It ends for all time zones. Eastern, Mountain Time, and Pacific Time. The show is ended by then for all 3 time zones. So we kind of end at the end. I've seen some people online already doing it like 5 o'clock. They're already talking about it, right? And I'm just like, well, there's the rest of the other side of North America hasn't seen it yet, right? So
Yeah, you want to give them a bit of time to watch it before you
yeah,
go over and spoil things.
I mean the game spoils it, but
Well,
still,
yeah, that's true.
there's still a lot of people that like I said, my wife being one of them, who are first time getting into the show, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, 9:05 every Sunday will be on for the duration of this show. It's a addition. That doesn't mean Popcorn Chicken on Wednesday goes away. It's still doing its own thing. Wednesday nights at 9:45 p.m. we're doing the Bad Batch review until the Mandalorian kicks in, which is very soon. By the way, these two shows are going to actually overlap each other near the end. So Pedro is going to be on multiple times in a week.
We're gonna get so much of him, but we're gonna get him with the mask on and the mask off. So
yeah,
it's not gonna feel like we're getting too much.
If people want to know what he looks underneath the mask, just go watch The Last of Us. You'll get a good idea of who he looks like.
Yeah, and he does a great job in like acting in The Last of Us. He does such a fantastic job, and it makes you really understand why he does such a good job in The Mandalorian. A guy that wears a helmet and still manages to convey emotion and feelings, and
yeah,
he's a very good actor.
He's got a distinct voice. It's a very unique voice, and I remember watching him in it was Narcos. Yeah, it was Narcos on Netflix. I watched him. That was his breakout point, in my opinion. And when I watched him, I'm like, this guy's going to be a star.
Yeah,
this guy is going to be a star. Just give him the right roles, and he's going to blow up. And sure enough, Mandalorian. Yeah, you don't see him much, but that's also a testament to his lack of having an ego. Because a lot of Hollywood actors, they have it in their claws that they must have their face seen 80-90% of the show, right? Even if they're wearing a helmet or a mask or something, they want their face to be seen. And a lot of people get upset because they ruin some of these iconic characters. But for him, he knew he's going to be on, and he's on, like, you only see his face maybe 2 episodes, 3 episodes, that's it. And we're 3 seasons in, right? So he knows that when he signed for the role that he's not going to get a scene. And I like that. He has confidence in his acting, saying that I'm going to get more roles, whether they see me or not. I don't care. It's fine. And he's sure, here he is as Joel. And I think he does a great job of bringing Joel to life like just a great job of, I don't even, like, I can't distinguish the two. They're the same people in my mind.
They even look kind of similar. Like, they're not identical people, but they look pretty similar.
Yeah,
mannerisms are similar.
Yeah, I think he just feels like he's been weathered. He's a hardened, seasoned human being that's gone through a lot in 20 years, and life has been sucked out of him for the most part, right? Where he doesn't care about his his beard or his hair or hygiene in general or clothes. I mean, look at the environment they're in, anyways, right? Yeah. But yeah, he's definitely brought Joel to life in this show. Going back to the beginning, so our first encounter is when Riley comes home. Well, we see planes, we see ambulances and police be in the background. I think that I thought they did a good job of building up the escalation of what's happening in the background of things while she's doing her day-to-day thing, and you see it building up. You see more, and then all of a sudden you see planes flying by. Right? It just got more and more intense, and you can also hear in the background radio or TV talking about something happening in somewhere. And So I thought they did a good job. What were your thoughts about how they started building it up in the first 15, 20 minutes?
Oh yeah, I enjoyed it. They made it so we all knew, it was going to be the Last of Us version of zombies. We knew that was coming, but they did it in a way where I wasn't sure the moment up until we saw the dog. Then I'm like, okay, this is going to be the moment. But before that, it kept me guessing. I thought, she's getting kicked out of the store. As soon as she leaves the store, there's going to be zombies around her. Nope. I thought maybe when she first visits her neighbor's house, that was going to be the moment. Nope. It turned out to be a little bit later, not too late, but pretty close after, when she's already home and she's got the dog Mercy scratching at the door. And at first, I'll admit, I thought for some reason I thought one of the dog's eyes was white.
Oh, okay.
And I thought, oh, the dog's a zombie. But then I realized, no, it's not. I'm thinking into this too much. And then we get that first interaction with it. And I will be honest, didn't freak me out too much. Like, I loved seeing like the fungus, little tentacle things. I thought
spewing
that was
out
cool.
of the mouth kind of thing. Yeah.
Yep. But that it looked very different than a lot of other depictions of zombies, and it gave me kind of a weird feeling. Well, hello there. How did you feel about seeing I keep calling it the Last of Us version of the zombie, but what do you think of the fungus zombie?
I thought it was like, I knew Grandma was going to be it because I was telling you that I saw her, contorting her mouth in the background. But when she walked in there, I'm like, okay, Grandma's up to something here. What's going on here, right? And then I see the neighbor, the dad, or the guy in the neighbor, and he's got blood, kind of smeared all over him. You see on the floor, and he sort of just looks to her and just kind of like gives her the look to look that way. And sure enough, Grandma's eating more than just cookies in that kitchen.
No more Raisin Bran cookies.
Nope. It's a whole kind of brand. And she is taking chunks out, and then she kind of looks up, and I'm like, here we go. This is what I've been waiting for. And then, obviously, Riley just bolts it out of there, and then Grandma comes running. And these are not zombies. They're not going to slowly walk to you. She is galloping on all fours, right? And of course, you have Joel and Tommy pull up in the truck. So the similarities between the game and this is very close. They obviously extended the intro because they wanted to bring some more of Riley's story in there and make it more emotional of what happens to Riley in the show. So I thought that was genius, by the way. I thought it was great. It wasn't taking away from anything. It's still it's sort of like they veered off, but then they came right back into that game storytelling, right? We're going to tell you a little bit more, but we're going to come right back to what you recognize and remember. They get in the pickup truck, which everybody remembers, and they're trying to get out of town, traffic. They take a turn to go into another direction. They go into the city, which is chaotic. Everyone's running everywhere. People are chomping on everybody. We remember that in the game. So up until that point, I thought it was great. I'm like, they're doing a great job of keeping it true to the game, which that's all you can ask for, right? Mm-hmm. So what were your thoughts up into the part where they end up in the city there?
I loved it. I thought it was great. A deviation from the standard, oh no, Joseph, why are you walking so funny? I know this is in the game too. Like, they do this where they're more knowledgeable about it, more realistic. Like, oh, something's wrong, I'm gonna get away, rather than just the Scooby-Doo, let's figure this out together, gang. And seeing them like go down the highway, trying to drive off the highway to get around them, like making the plans, missing people that are trying to hitchhike and get out of there. Like, nope, someone else will get them. They're not our problem. Even though that's obviously not like a humane thing to do. It's like in that situation where Joel and his brother, they kind of know what's going on. They know there's something dangerous, that people are changing and being violent. They need to get out of there quickly. And so they're just like, no, screw it, we got to go. And up until the scene where they go back into the city, into an urban area, I thought they did it in a way that was really believable. The acting was great. They seemed nervous, scared, but also like determined. We got to do this. We got to make quick decisions. And then, of course, in the city, we have some fantastic scenes. And in my opinion, one of the best moments in the whole show, of that panic and that urgency to get through it all. And that on top of it, we see a plane crash.
That was crazy.
That was one of the coolest moments. But that's one of the little differences between the game and the TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've played through that in the game.
Yeah, I played that. They amped it up a little bit more. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they definitely did. Yeah. Instead of another car hitting them.
And
no.
This is where this is why I have high hopes for this show. I have a good feeling for the show, is because all the deviations, all the changes just feel organically in there.
Yeah.
It doesn't really stick out. It doesn't change the narrative of the story. It's very, very almost like a symbiotic feel to it, right? Like it just feels good that the changes are there. We recognize the changes if you played the game, but it just feels good. Like, yeah, I love all these changes, and that's why I'm very optimistic. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, like they're just continuing to respect the game, but also giving a little bit more to give you like if they did exactly what the game did, you wouldn't be excited.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, okay, cool. It's live action. Okay, cool, whatever. But when they throw in a little bit like a plane exploding, you're like, oh, I didn't know about that. Oh my God, that looks awesome. Like, that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I appreciate that.
It's different enough that both new people that haven't played the games and those who have can enjoy it.
Yeah.
And they did it in a way that was fast-paced and kept the story going without really deviating too much from the plot, which I was happy about. Usually people really change what's going on in a story.
Yeah, that's where your problems come from, right? That's why video game adaptations to movies and TV shows have been horrible, because you have directors or writers who have ego and think that they could do a better job of storytelling. Just stick to the script of what has already been given to you. It's already a success. Make minor tweaks here and there and just go with the flow. You're gonna have a success. Why try to fix the wheel? It's already fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have Joel basically and them trying to get out of town. So instead of a vehicle smashing into them, they had a plane explode, and the pieces of the fragments of the plane damaged. That was kind of weird, though, wasn't it?
Like it kind of is, but it's one of those things where the way I justify it is there's so much chaos going on in that very moment that I can understand if we don't fully understand why they flipped, because they probably didn't fully understand it at the moment either. They're trying to back up, they're trying to get out of there, and all of a sudden there's a big explosion and they've flipped. And we know that at least a plane exploded and we saw parts fly. But that's kind of it.
Yeah. And then they do get into a crash or witness one. So when they get out of the vehicle, a police cruiser comes from behind, and all three have gotten out of the vehicle, but Tommy's gone on one side. Joel and Riley come off on the other side, and the cruiser sort of explodes, and there's a fire erupts, and they're separated because they can't get through. The alley's sort of blocking them from going to the other side. So Tommy says, hey, I'll meet you by the lake or the river, the river, and then you guys go from the other way around. And it's being similar to the game, right, where Joel has to pick up Riley because Riley's ankle's busted, and so they go through the backwards through doors and restaurants, whatever. And I thought it was really cool how the infected just kind of sit up and go, oh, what's that? Fresh meat? Okay. And then they just run after you, right? And you got to bolt, like you got to move, right? They don't have the greatest balance or stopping abilities, but they can come at you fast. And the fact that he was able to get out, and all of a sudden he gets out of this diner. It's a diner at the very last
It
part. I think
looks
it's a
like he was
diner, right?
going through. Yeah, no, it was because
When he
they
exited
went through the
the front, right?
kitchen
Yeah,
and
yeah. So it's a diner, and then he finally gets out, and then just when you see the infected about to jump on him, he just gets shot in the head, and back to the game we go, where you have the soldier basically shining the flashlight on him and saying stop.
yeah.
And in my mind, I already know what's going to happen, and my wife's just sitting there, and I'm just looking at her, I'm like, oh, she's going to be so heartbroken right now. And I'm like, here we go, right? And then sure enough, so the part in the game, I don't know if you remember, in the game, the audio, the person on the radio basically says to them, kill both of them, right? And then the soldier goes, but he's with a kid. Like, that part wasn't conveyed in this one.
Yeah, well, I think it's because they're trying to make it so you were kind of conflicted. Like, is he gonna harm them? Is he gonna help them? But as soon as you say buddies with a kid, that's kind of a giveaway.
Yeah.
And in the game, you know that potentially one of the two can die. Because you have to continue the game with one of them most likely, and one of them's on the cover art. But for this, because it's a TV show, you could kind of get away with a bit more ambiguity. Some people might not know, in my opinion. Some people might think that Riley could survive it. Some people, wouldn't come to that immediate conclusion.
Or we might even think Riley could survive it, even though we played the game. But I mean, it'd be a huge deviation from the game. But maybe she survives a little bit longer and dies for another reason. I was thinking that too as well. Maybe she dies eventually, but not right away. But that wasn't the case. They stayed to the game, which in a way I was kind of relieved too. I'm like, okay, phew, they stayed to the game. And
yeah,
what happens is the soldier fires on them. They kind of fall down a little bit of a cliff or a hill. And then our buddy Tommy, when the soldier's about to shoot Joel, Tommy just blasts his brains off, and the soldier goes down. He sees to check himself. He just basically got grazed. I think the watch grazed the bullet, right?
I think that was it too, because that's like the moment it broke, and like the moment his daughter kind of died. That's what I thought it was.
Yeah, because they zoomed in on the watch and mentions the watch being broken, and then you can see the hole there, right? But I'm wondering, how does a hole only go one side, not through the watch?
I don't think it like hit directly. It must have like glanced, or maybe hit a rock going down or something.
Whatever the case may be, he basically, because Tommy basically goes to him, Joel just kind of says that, and Joel turns around and looks for his daughter, and then obviously you know what happened. The bullet hits her, and R.I.P. to Riley. She passes away, and then just like the game, we get a time shift, a big time shift.
Yeah.
When I was playing the game, I was like, "Whoa, that's a big time shift, right?"
It's not just like a week or two or a couple months. It's like a whole 20 years.
Like, he must have been 30 something, and then go to 20. So he must be 50 something.
Do you know what? Yeah.
Well, his daughter's like a teenager.
His daughter is, so I would have assumed he would have been in his 40s probably. But then if you do 20 years, he would have been in his 60s, and that's too old.
Maybe it's a high school mistake. His girlfriend and knocked up his girlfriend up in grade 12 or something, or in early first year of college. Let's say he's like 20 years old. Let's just say that 20, 21 years old, barely an adult. And so she is what, 15, I want to say, in the game. So she's 15, so he's going to be at least 35 in the game in the beginning. So he's 55 years old if 20 years has gone by. That's what I would think at. He's 55 years old.
The actress for Riley is a lot older than I thought she was.
Well, no, I meant in the
I know in the game. Guess how old the actress is for Riley?
25?
Yeah, close. She's 19.
Okay.
I
Well,
thought
she's
she
not
was
that
gonna be
old.
like.
She's still a
I know.
teenager.
I thought she was early teens because she looked like a very
Well,
young
remember
kid.
the show filmed 2 years ago, so she was
Oh yeah, that's
17. Yeah,
true.
so she's 17. So which is that's exactly what anyone would guess, anyways. Her age, 15 to 17, somewhere there. But
And
I'm
you know,
saying,
Riley, you said 15 to 17, so the middle of that 16, and Riley in the game is 16. So you got that pretty spot on.
yeah. So he must be at least 35 for that to happen,
Yeah,
right?
I
At
think
least
so.
35. So yeah, he's probably 55-ish in the timeline. And so 55, he wakes up just like the game, big time jump. And in the game, things kind of happen differently. We have Teresa. Is it Teresa? Yeah, Teresa.
Tessa? No, Tess. What's her name again?
Well, he says Tess, I think, but the actual name is Teresa.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, we see there's some sort of like a change in the way she's been introduced, right? She gets introduced sitting in the chair next to the guy who steals the battery.
Yeah.
So there's been a change because in the game she comes to him right away off the bat and mentions about the battery, blah blah blah. The battery's still there, so that they still kept that part of it, importance of it, because he needs it for the truck. We do have um, a different start because we've got this kid comes out of the forest to the barricade area, right?
Yep.
And it says Boston. They let him in, or let her in. I think it's a him or her. I can't remember.
I think it's a little girl.
Like a little
The
girl.
guy lets her in.
We all think that they're gonna take care of her and all this stuff, but man, they killed her.
Yeah.
They injected her with something to kill her.
It was dark. It's because she came up negative. Yeah, and like it sucks that happened, but it's also kind of sweet in a way because she's going to turn soon, because she tested negative, or I guess positive. She tested
Yeah, you
positive
have to
for
be
whatever
tested
that bug is.
positive. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So she tested positive for it, and they're like, "Oh, we just have you strapped down just so you don't fall over because you're weak. We're gonna take care of you. We're gonna give you your favorite food. You're gonna play with toys. That sound good." They kind of make her happy before her, during her final moments, rather than be scared.
Yeah.
As horrible as it is to kill a kid in that situation, you either kill her relatively humanely, or you let her turn into a walking
Fungi.
mushroom. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It was kind of sad because you have Joel basically. So this is the part where it deviates a little bit from the game, where
Yep.
he's basically working for the city, making some cash to live. They have this whole colony within the barrier there, basically a city around with the walls, right? Typical end of the world apocalypse type of world where everything's barricaded and you only can get into a certain way.
Yeah.
What'd you think about this change? Like, it's obviously different.
I'll be honest, I got some flashbacks to the Kenobi show.
Really?
As soon as I saw him doing
I've never
that
thought
tower,
anyone would ever say that.
I thought, oh my gosh, this is kind of a little like, I know they're not referencing it at all, but it reminded me of your protagonist goes from the life they had before, and now they're doing this really kind of dirty, low task. The buzzer goes off, telling everyone to stop working for the day. That happened in both shows. Although obviously this is a little bit darker because it gets to the point where there's a little boy that was freshly infected that they have to burn. And he's like, even though like he saw his daughter get killed, you can see that emotional attachment to the kid. There's kind of in his, okay, I might be reading into this too much, but to me it was he looked at the kid and he did feel that same sorrow and pain, but he's like, no, I'm gonna just do, I got this job to do still. I gotta move on. And he's moved on a little bit from his daughter's death. Obviously he hasn't moved on from it fully. He still wears the watch all the time.
I don't think any parent could.
Yeah.
I think you could just sort of live with it and kind of every day that goes by, it doesn't hurt as much, but you just kind of go with the flow. But you could clearly see that the life out of him has been sucked out, and it's
Yeah.
not because of the situation. It's part of it, but majority the main thing is he's lost his family. His wife, his daughter, they're all gone. He's by himself now, right? So he's got that bitterness to the world, depression, all that kind of mixed into a bottle, which ironically is what he's drinking.
Yeah.
that's his life there in a nutshell, right? Just drinking kind of away.
Drinking.
But yeah, I mean,
a handful of pills.
Yeah, and then obviously he's doing a little side gig, a little side hustle,
Yeah.
dropping off some pharmaceutical, helping out the soldiers. That's what Joel's all about.
Yeah.
So
And he's doing it at an execution too. And you did you listen to what the reasons were for the execution?
I
Things
couldn't
like
remember.
leaving the city, like leaving the
compound, right? Yeah,
area. Yeah, the compound. Yeah. I can't remember the other one, but there are things that didn't seem like, I guess at that time, it's a big deal. And he's just walking by like this happens all the time, and goes and makes his little deal and asks for the baggie back because I guess they can't produce them anymore.
Yeah.
That's valuable. That thing that people hate now, like in the real 2023, super valuable in the alternative 2023.
Yeah, so he basically gets the cash things and makes a deal with the guard about it, and goes back to his apartment, his fancy apartment.
Yep.
And basically drinks away, and then kind of goes to sleep. Does he do that? Yeah. And then his friend
does.
His friend Tess comes back or hangs out with him.
Yeah.
Are they an item? I'm assuming they're an item.
I think so. So she was in bed with him, but it didn't. It was kind of one of those weird things where I couldn't tell if he was dreaming it, because like the color changed and he was asleep during the whole thing. He didn't react at all. It just, she was there for a moment and then gone, and he woke up like it was the same day. It was a different day, but he woke up as if nothing happened.
And before that, Tess was basically in sort of an argument with the gentleman who was supposed to bring the battery for him, and then we saw this explosion. So this is all new. That's all new. That wasn't part of the game. Explosion happens. The wall basically breaks down. All the people around her die except for her, which I thought was kind of weird. That everyone's dead except for her. They should at least had one person alive, maybe. Right?
Wait, did he die or did he run away? Because we see him dead later on.
Oh yeah, sorry. So he ran away.
Yeah,
you're right.
So he ran away,
but everybody else died around her.
Yeah.
She did kind of get nicked up, but before that, she obviously had a shiner. I don't know what he did to her because he was so afraid of Joel finding out, and she's like, "Oh, your guys did it. It's okay. You didn't do it." I don't get it. Like, why would they beat her up?
Oh, so this part I understood, or I think I did. So it was his two like henchmen,
Double crossed her.
Yep. They double crossed her, and gave her a black eye or beat her up a bit. Yeah. He found out, the battery guy was like, "Oh shit, your boyfriend is gonna kill me if he finds out, like my guys did this. What am I gonna do? I need you to forgive me. I need to like a solution to this." And she's like, "Nope, it's okay." So funny. I thought it was kind of funny. She's like, "It's okay, I forgive you." He's like, "No, but you don't actually forgive me. You're just saying that to get out of here." It's like, no, it's okay. I forgive you. Just let me go. It's like, I can't let you go until you actually fully forgive me.
But I just found it funny how the two henchmen beat her up. Like, he should have said to her, because he knew he was obviously in on the double cross, but he could have said to them, "Hey, don't hurt her because I don't want Joel to come after me." So that's why I found it like funny how he's like afraid of him now. Like, dude, weren't you afraid of him before? Like, what his capabilities are beforehand, obviously. So I just found that funny. But so she gets out of there. The explosion, timely, explosion. She gets out of there, and it looks at it. It's a police cruiser that's on fire.
Yeah.
She runs down the street. She turns left, and she's a whole bunch of squad people running at her, but they weren't really running at her. They were actually shooting at somebody above. We find out it's the Firefly. Is that they're called?
The Fireflies. Yeah.
Firefly. So I don't know past this who the Firefly are because I haven't played the game that far yet. So I'm gonna find out if it's real or it's just something made up. But you can tell me right now.
It is part of the game.
Perfect. Okay, good. So
yes, that's all. That's all I'll say. I don't want to.
Okay. That's all you need to say. Yeah, I'm gonna play some more of it. But
they're very important.
Okay,
for obvious reasons.
So she turns the other way, and obviously there's more police there. But she tries to reason with them, and good luck trying to. You know how that goes.
I'm not a terrorist.
I swear I didn't do anything, and then boom, on the ground, handcuffed, and off she goes to the slammer.
I'll be honest. During that moment, I thought maybe you would have looked more believable if you were still like crouching, looking like you're terrified, like clutching your face, trying to cover your ears. That looks more believable that you're not a terrorist than don't shoot. I'm not a terrorist, but I'm going to walk towards you rather quickly.
Maybe they shot her because they thought she's infected.
No, this is inside the compound.
Yeah, no, but could she not be infected somehow? Remember they went down. They went down the steps later. So after, remember?
Oh no, wasn't that outside of the compound?
That was under the railway. They went down under the stairs. Remember?
Yeah, but I thought that what you're talking about when they go get the battery later, right?
Yeah.
I thought that was outside the compound because the girl later on when they bring her back to Joel's house, she says, the girl, Ellie, she says, "This is my first time inside, like the compound." I'll admit that part was kind of confusing. I
was like, what?
Because you think it was the other way around.
Yeah.
I was confused about that, to be honest. So I'm not too sure.
Because I thought that whole place that they're in is still in the compound, but I guess maybe it's on the outside because that would make sense in a way where she's important and why she's outside. So they basically go and try to look for the battery. They end up. So she goes back to Joel. How did she escape? How did she get out of handcuffs?
They let her out of the handcuffs.
But why?
It had been several weeks. They determined that she wasn't going to turn. They're testing to make sure that she wasn't going to change. You know, what's your name? Count to 10 slowly. You know,
no, I don't mean Ellie. I mean Tessa. How did she get out of the? She got handcuffed.
Remember from the police.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I'm going to guess that they just let her go.
That's the part that
implied that, but not. They didn't really. That's the only explanation really I can think of that they let her go, but she didn't say any reason.
Yeah, there was no explanation of how she got out. But anyway, she got out. She goes back to Joel and says, "Listen, we gotta go and get the battery. Blah blah blah. I know where he is." They talk to some randoms over there, get some money, and then some guy comes up to Joel and he's like, "Get out of here before I punch you in the face. I do not want whatever you're selling," which was to join the Firefly squad. And we find out later why he really hates them because his brother Tommy was convinced that they're someone to join, and so he goes to some guy who's a radio communicator or something on the outside world and pays him some cash or gives him some cigarettes, and he basically Tommy is on a mission outside, and Joel has said he's been gone for a while. He was only supposed to go for a specific time. He hasn't been back. I need to go find him. So Joel's obviously worried about his brother, right? And wants to go find him. And that's why he's mad at these guys, these Firefly guys. Like, screw you. I don't want to join your little crappy little group because it's because of you guys. My brother's somewhere out there stranded. And now I got to go find him. So him and Tessa basically go and look for the battery with the clues that, the tip that were given.
Yeah.
They basically walk in just before, right after a shootout breaks out in the hallway where we see our boy, Battery Boy, shot to death.
Battery Boy, yep.
Battery Boy shot. He's on the ground dead. Some other people on the ground. And then Ellie just bolts through the door or something in the hallway.
Yeah, Buster tries to stab him.
Yeah, like a rabid Wolverine.
That's what I thought too. I was like,
I was like, whoa, what happened? Did she get infected?
Yeah, she's aggressive. Actually, at first I didn't recognize it was her until he threw her against the wall.
I was like, what? And then he steps on our blade and holds it there. And then we have the leader of the Firefly, Marlene.
Oh, what's her name again?
Marlene. It's
yeah,
Marlene.
it was Marlene. You got
Yeah,
it. You got it.
yeah, Marlene. And she basically got shot. You can see she's bleeding there, and then she's with her friend Kim, who's got her ear blown off, which was
I thought that was hilarious. The
yeah.
jokes,
You're not going anywhere because you don't have an ear.
Yeah.
Might want to reconsider that. So
And
that was
what
pretty
I
funny.
like too is it wasn't just like a bloody stump. Like I don't know if you saw, but you could actually see like the holes in her head because of it. Like, oh my gosh.
Like, how are you not dead? Right?
Yeah, like
You
I'd
should be
expecting
dead. With
blood just shooting out. Like there was a lot of blood, but like it was like good makeup. It looked
yeah,
pretty
prosthetics
good.
was pretty good. Yeah, it's really good. And so basically, this is where the show really starts coming together because
Mm-hmm.
previous to this scene, Marlene is telling Ellie something of you're important, and they obviously you know what it is, but I don't know, so I want to keep it to my.
Yeah, I
Don't
won't
tell me
spoil.
anything. I want to, go through this journey, which is I think is so cool that I'm playing the game while the show's on. So I had a hunch. I have my.
Yeah, like I think you'll know what it is
Yeah,
because they
and then
do say in the episode.
yeah, in the
Kind
end
of.
they kind of give it away, right?
Yeah.
But we don't know the extent of it all, right? And so it's nice to have Marlene basically talk to her, and then the funny part was like Ellie's like, "Are you my mom?" Right? Like,
Do I
because
look like your
she
mom?
doesn't call her Veronica. She doesn't go with the name Veronica. She's like, "Your name is Ellie," and she's like, "How the hell did you know that?" Like obviously she's trying to put it together, but and Marlene's like, "No, I'm not your mom. Do I look like your mom?" Right? Which I thought was
That's pretty
funny.
good. Oh yeah, that was funny.
And then so she basically tasks Joel and Tessa to take her out of the compound. I'm going to
Mm.
give you everything you need. You'll find your brother Tommy. You'll get a truck. You'll get ammo. Whatever you need, we're going to give it to you. Everything you need. We just got to get her out of here. They did mention where. I don't remember recalling them mentioning.
I can't remember either. I do know that they're taking them outside of the compound, which we saw.
I guess
In
maybe
the
to
final
meet the
shot.
group of fireflies where they're located.
Yeah, I think
That
they're
would
trying
probably
to
make
get up
sense,
there.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, to find out where they are. And so they're like, they're talking over, and then obviously Tessa's like, listen, if you want to find your brother, like, this is the best probably choice we have. And they're not going to screw us around. We've got the cargo here. And I like the fact that he goes, if you guys mess with us, I'm just going to kill the cargo. Right? And
Yeah.
then Ellie's just like, hey, what the hell? Like, that fast already? Thanks, people. So, yeah, the agreement has been reached. And so Ellie has to go with them. And she goes back to the part with them. And the part that I thought was very interesting was the radio situation where she reads the notepad.
Yeah, that was funny.
She tricks him into telling what it is because she immediately realized this is some sort of code, right? And what was it, 60s, 70s, and 80s, right?
Yeah.
And the higher the decade got, the more dangerous it was.
So 60s was no something like no new stock. 70s was something along the lines of like they have supplies, I think. 80s was just the red X, and she's trying to figure that out. And so I can't remember what song it was, but she started like singing or like kind of saying the words to a song from the 80s. Can't remember the name of the song or what it was. Oh, you got it. You're making me on. It's contagious.
So I just found it funny that she sings a song and he's just like, did you hear that song? Was it that song? And she's like, I got you. I was like, yeah,
so now I know. I like that. It shows that people are actually intelligent, and not it's not just the writers who are the intelligent ones. It's actually the characters that they make too.
Exactly, yeah.
Very often writers make stupid characters, and it's
Which was
annoying.
really cool. And so yeah, they're Tessa's like, okay, we got to go. Like, put on a jacket. When she puts on the jacket and the hoodie sticking out of it, that's the iconic look
Yeah.
that she has going for her, right? And I'm like, okay, here we go. Right now, it's getting more intense, right? More of the show that we're getting used to from the games that I've seen the clips all over. So I'm like, okay, cool. And they basically sneak out of the compound, I guess through underneath the road or something. Like
I
that looked like
think it
tar,
was.
right? Like road tar that they moved out of the way. Didn't look like a sewer pipe or a manhole.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't go into too many sewers, but that did look kind of like tar.
Yeah, we're not turtles here. Yeah, so they get out. I found it very interesting how they didn't go put it back and close it.
hmm
That's the first thing you do. You cover your tracks, right?
My only guess is they're like, oh, no one's gonna follow us for going out there, so why do we need to, stop us? Why
Maybe.
do we need to do this? We can leave a trail, and they're not gonna come out.
Maybe, yeah. So they get out the compound area, and she's all excited. Ellie's like, "I'm outside! Wow, this is cool!" Right? Which is why I was asking you the question: Is are
Oh
they out?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I see. I'm confused a bit. I thought that earlier on they were outside, but I guess she was inside.
Yeah, which is why I was like, okay, then did they really go outside, or were they always inside just an underground barrow area, hidden from the police or something like that? Right? So they're outside and they're making their way around, and then all of a sudden there's a cop pissing on the wall. And
hmm
funny thing is, the cop is by himself patrolling this area. I would think that if there are the event of people coming and attacking them or fungi zombie attacking them, you'd want to pair up, would you not?
Yeah. So, um, I'm comparing this now to a real life police force. The only police force that I know that does do solo patrols is the RCMP, and that's primarily because they never didn't have enough people to actually do the two people per patrol. So in the case that this zombie world that they're in, that they don't have enough of like the security police, that they need to do one person patrols, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But you're spot on. I Even if we only had enough people for like one person patrol, I'd be like, no, still two.
Still, too.
Because if someone gets
Someone's got to
bitten,
watch your six, right?
yeah, there's a chance there's a zombie behind you. You want your friend there. If you get hurt or like bitten and you're gonna get turned, someone needs to shoot you and put you down before you just wander
Mm-hmm.
around and no one knows what's
Yeah,
happened.
you're wearing your tactical gear and you're gonna eat people, right? So, and then the fact is that when they so basically Joel tries to convince him to let them go, and then Ellie all of a sudden does a um crazy like this Ellie is nuts. Like,
Yeah,
she's nuts, right? And she basically stabs him with the knife. I think it is
yeah. So like,
the switchblade.
as the cop is scanning, I can't remember who he's scanning. He's
He
scanning
scanned
someone
both.
else.
He
Yeah,
scanned Tessa and Joel. They both were green.
yep. And while he's doing that, she like grabs her knife. I didn't realize it was her knife. I thought like, okay, we know that she's infected from earlier, but is she gonna grab something to like stick on so it says she's positive? No, she just stabs him. And I was like, oh,
Yeah,
okay.
straight up stabs him, and then Joel gets a flashback, this was great.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
was really good. They inserted that in the flashback of him remembering that this moment I lost my daughter, and I know Ellie and him just met, but this is the start of their bond,
Yeah.
right? And so he just jumps at the soldier because he's not going to put the gun down. I've already gone through this once in my life where the soldier never put their gun down, and I know what's coming. So I'm gonna, for the first time, jump because last time I didn't do that, and I lost my daughter. And
Yeah.
so he jumps and tackles him down, and basically just pummels him. to the point where you probably now recognize the guy's face,
Yeah.
and I can't believe Joel didn't break his hand in the process, because punching bones is not fun.
Yeah. Well, his knuckles were bloody, but you're right. He would have broken something in his hand. But
At least
again, this
one of the
isn't.
knuckles should have been broken, right?
Yeah, this is like a TV show, and they don't
Yeah.
want to have to be like, oh, well, he hurt himself, and now we have to worry about his broken hand. Like, no, no,
Yeah,
no.
it's
He just
Hollywood. It's
beat the crap
Hollywood.
out of him. Yeah,
It's
and
Hollywood.
in fairness, like I'm sure I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Like they still showed like his knuckles were like bloody and raw.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing to show. If they just had him beat the hell out of him, like okay, he's like semi Superman, so kind of Hercules, just kill a man that quickly, no injury. But they showed like they still had the impact on his.
Well, they
hands,
showed
which was nice.
the anger in him,
Yeah,
because this was sort of like, this was finally him letting out that guilt, I guess, maybe.
yeah. You're right.
Right? It's sort of like
It
letting
is.
out what has been probably tormenting him, why he didn't step up and help his daughter. Like if he had stepped up, his daughter would have been alive. So this was, I guess, his way of sort of letting go some of that guilt by beating the shit out of this soldier and getting
Yeah.
some sort of I don't know, what is that? Some sort of, reprieve, I guess, maybe, from what he had to go through.
Yeah.
And so,
Vengeance. I'm just joking.
yeah, I'm vengeance. Yeah, some sort of exhaling some of that guilt out of him, right? So then Tessa, she scans Ellie
Yeah.
and it's red, which means she's infected. This was the big part where even my wife says, like, oh my God, she's infected. And then she shows her hand. She's like, look, if I was infected, I would have been dead within a day, or I would have turned within a day. But I've had this for 2 weeks now, right?
Yeah, and it was crazy to see. It looked like the fungus infection, but it stopped within a certain range.
Yeah.
It was kind of gross looking, but it is.
It looked like
cool
a
to
burnt
see.
scar almost, right?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
And that's for the episode and for the season and any coming seasons. That's the big thing. The fact that she's infected, but she hasn't turned. And I'm not going to say anything else.
Yeah.
About that. No spoilers.
That's it. I'm still playing the game.
Oh, no worries. I won't say anything, but it's interesting.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. And going back to what I was saying about the pairing up the cops is because they didn't even cut the wires to the fence. They just kind of lifted it up. I'm like, what kind of security is this? What kind of barrier do they have, right? It was just so comical. Like if any person who was infected wanted to come through, they would have easily come through that fence.
Yeah.
But this is where the show kind of ends here with the song that she was not the song she was playing. So they zoom into the apartment. Yeah, the radio. They zoom back to Joel's apartment, and the radio's playing. Starts to play with the song. Who's playing that? Is it Tommy?
So that I don't know if it's Tommy. I do know that it is the. I think it's his connection, his dealer, the guy that's getting him stuff. And it might be Tommy, but I don't know. I'm a bit lost. I did look up the song.
Okay.
The song is called "Never Let Me Down Again," and I'm sure you can guess what era it's from of music.
80s.
Yeah, 1987. So it is the Red X. It is the something bad and big is happening.
So maybe that's Tommy telling him that something bad is happening to me.
Yeah.
And because he's not home, he doesn't have any idea what he's going to be walking into.
Yeah.
This is pretty crazy. And so you see the iconic Last of Us sort of the city skyline look as they're walking through this bio hazardous area. And I like how the fence basically just says, like you're leaving a secured area, you're going into a dangerous area, which is always nice to see when you're leaving.
Yes.
But yeah, and then the episode ends. And then obviously next week we'll have it at the same time. Next week, Sunday, I think it plays at 5 p.m. for Eastern, 6 p.m. for Mountain Time, and then 8 p.m. I believe for Pacific time, something like that. But
Yeah.
there's 3 different time zones I think they play, and it'll be on HBO Max and HBO regular channel, and then in Canada it's also on Crave as well because they're partnered up with HBO in the US. So you could definitely check that out. I mean, do you want to add anything before we kind of give our score for this episode?
I liked
Well,
it. I think that they did a really good job of keeping the heart of the game in there.
man,
That feel.
you just hit it right on the nail right there. That is exactly, if I was to say it, that's exactly how I'd put it. The heart of it all.
Yep. Yeah, they made some changes here and there, but it wasn't a change that they thought, oh, we can do better, which you see very often. It's this sort of change where they're like, this is a way to up the stakes just a little bit, make
Yeah.
sure that people that haven't seen, that have played the games, have something a little bit new, so that way they're not just watching the games again.
Yeah, it made the death of Riley so much more impactful, I think,
Yeah.
with the changes they made to her, to the beginning of it, right?
And Pedro's acting in that was phenomenal. It
Top
just the
notch.
sorrow, you can see the immediate grief, and then also there's the point where he stops crying, and his eyes are just staring, kind of emotionless, and you can just
Deadless.
see that pain in him.
Yeah, the deadless,
Mhm.
don't care for the world anymore look,
Yeah,
right?
it's phenomenal.
And then that carries over, and that sort of that all that acting and that emotion that was there carried over to the very end of the show where he gets to let it all out, right? Which
Yeah,
made it so more impactful. That flash scene was just so well done, the timing of it all, right? And it brings the ending, the closure to the first episode, I thought, in a strong way, where he
yeah,
finally lets it out. Also, the fact that we get a little bit more information on what the importance of Ellie is, why she needs to be protected and taken to a certain location. We see a little bit of that. I'm sure they're going to explore more of that. I 100% agree that they're going to talk more. You're obviously not going to spoil it for me, which I appreciate.
yeah. I won't.
The cast, I think, was good. Everyone that they hired, I thought, was really, really good. Um, Wait, did I keep saying Riley the whole time? Isn't it? Is it Sarah?
Are you talking about Ellie or?
No, you're talking about the daughter of Pedro.
Yeah, Riley. No, you got it.
Was it Riley? I thought it was Sarah. Never mind.
I thought it was Riley. What just happened? I had the cast list up. No, it was Riley.
Okay. All right. Maybe I was wrong. I can't remember. Anyways, but what I wanted to say was I thought like all the changes, the tiny little details that they made different from the game, at no point did it hurt the overall story. Right. I think we can clearly say that. And yeah, I think it was well done. Episode 1 has been so well done. I'm hoping it continues. I'm praying because we've been through this, like I said before. So yeah, I'm hoping the next episode continues well off. Is it? Did they say it's going to be an hour and a half for every episode, or is it going to go back to an hour?
So I looked up the times and I saw that it said between 45 and 85 minutes. So the episode we watched should be the longest.
Okay.
Everything else should be about 45 minutes or somewhere in between.
Yeah, with commercials probably, right? An hour or something like that.
Yeah. And by the way, I just looked it up. I think you are right. So it's Sarah. You got it right. But for the whole show, we've been calling her Riley.
Riley, we apologize.
We apologize to
Yeah.
Nico Parker, the actress for Sarah, for
Yeah.
mixing her up with another actress on the show playing another character.
Yeah, so it's Sarah, the daughter, that dies, not
Yeah.
Riley.
Yeah.
So forget everything we just said for the last hour about Riley. It's Sarah.
In
And everyone who was
fairness,
listening in the beginning is probably like, it's not Riley, it's Sarah. You guys are all wrong.
in fairness, she died, and we're not going to see her live again. So it's
Yeah.
not a
Well,
not a big deal.
yeah, it's Sarah. So RIP to Sarah. Okay.
Yes.
I fixed it all right here at the end. Yeah, because I was just looking at the casting, like I'm like, wait, it's Sarah, not Riley.
Yeah, I saw that too, and I was like, well, hold on, these are different people.
Yeah, so I what are you gonna give it out of 10? Do you want to go first, or should I go first?
I can go first.
Okay.
Because my ratings are less controversial.
Oh God, here we go. Okay.
I'm gonna give it 2 ratings here. So hold
2?
on. Yeah, but I'm gonna have 1 official rating. I have seen a lot of zombie shows recently, and just in general, and I'm kind of getting tired of them. And so if that was the case where I was going to be tired of it, I'd give it a 9. But because ignoring all that and just focusing on the show, ignoring how I feel about the genre, they did a wonderful job of respecting the video game and all the work that so many people put into it. They did a great job with the cast. They used a unique idea of changing the zombie genre, and they kept the whole episode engaging, exciting, getting you invested emotionally, even though you've only met one of the characters who died for like 15 minutes. So I'm going to give this a 9.5. I think it's so good, especially for a video game adaptation where we're so used to seeing just
I
dog
should have went
shit.
first.
Oh, is yours is like an 8 or a 7?
I should have went first because I'm exactly at the same level that you are at.
Oh yeah.
This is a 9.5 for me. Like I said, I did mention that one part where I didn't know what happened to Tessa. She just showed up out of nowhere.
Yep.
To me, like, if I'm going to give something 10 out of 10, I should have no questions, no doubts throughout the whole episode. It just flows, right? I did think that some of the they try to give this city a very apocalyptic look, but it also felt a little cheap. They kind of didn't give us a bigger scope of it.
Yeah.
It was more of like a small corner neighborhood. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know, right? But it just didn't feel like a Boston city that's sort of a whole area of people, and it just felt a little bit low budget at some points for me.
Yeah.
But
No, that's
overall,
true.
overall 9.5 for me though, man. It's a must-see show if you're into this type of genre. It's a must. I just was talking to our friend Chris, who's into all this stuff, zombies and horrors and all this stuff, and I was just telling him about it, and he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna check it out. I'm like, "You got to see the show, man. You're gonna love it." So he's gonna start watching it this week. Yeah, it sucks that it's a weekly episodic reveal. We gotta wait for weeks and weeks, but yeah, it was such a great show, and HBO's got another hit. Man, they could do no wrong on these guys. That HBO's making so many great shows. They're just bringing out hits, and people like Disney and Amazon and Netflix are just going, could they stop making awesome shows for HBO? Give us some other stuff too. And HBO Max is probably doing cartwheels, because from what I heard already in the lead up to this episode, there's a lot of critics that have watched it ahead of us, and they have all said that this is a fantastic show. So yeah, kudos to them for making another great show. Kudos to the director, the writers, for being so far true to the show and respecting it. That's all fans of the game can ask for, and it looks like it's a resounding success with the average person watching it, because my wife can't wait for the next episode. And this is not something that me and her can watch on a Sunday night just after dinner. So yeah, this is awesome. 9.5 out of 10. We hope you give us a 9.5 out of 10. The 0.5, because we got Riley and Sarah mixed up. We apologize. We were just so excited about the show. And you know me, I'm always bad with names, guys. I always say wrong names all the time. So this is a normal thing. Don't worry about it. But what's not normal is we're doing a special show just for this show every Sunday at 9:05 p.m. Why 9:05 p.m.? I don't know. I just felt like being different. But join us for our other shows. We got so many shows happening. We have tomorrow night, Monday at 8:30 p.m. We have the A&R Weekly, which is over 100 episodes in. Join me and my other friend D on there, 8:30 p.m. Pacific time, where we talk about pop culture news. And then also Wednesday, we're going to go back to the Popcorn Chicken segment of Bad Batch, where Nathan, me, and Justin, our other member, will break down those episodes. And then bi-weekly, which is this Saturday coming up, we're doing a Mighty Mornings, myself and our friend Christopher. We're going to break down and talk about 80s, 90s, and early 2000 animation and shows. Go back in time. So we're Mighty Mornings and Saturday cartoons were amazing. So join us. That is at 8:30 a.m. We'll switch there. It's not at night. It's in the morning. 8:30 a.m.
It's like your Saturday morning cartoons.
Exactly.
Waking
Right?
up
Look at
early
that.
watch.
Look
Yeah.
at that. Ah.
Coincidence?
Yes. So we're gonna make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell too, because when we post scheduling, yes, the little bar there shows you all of our social media. So make sure to go to @ANR Universe to get all of our social and subscribe and follow us on all these platforms. And yeah, we would love to hear back from you guys what your thoughts are on this show, on anything we do. Feedback is important to us. We want to always take that feedback and continue doing better and better every week. Yeah, so we appreciate each and every one of you for joining. If you're watching us on replay, thank you so much for doing that. Hope you guys have a good night. Say bye, Nathan.
Bye, Nathan.
There he is. And we will see you guys next week for episode 2 breakdown of The Last of Us. Good night, people. Bye-bye.